And good, bright, and beautiful morning to you. I am Kimberly Mann. This is Easy Bible Study. And today we are going to find out what's really important to Laban. You know, Laban, Rachel and Leah's dad, and Jacob's cousin, Rebecca's brother. What's really important to him? Is it family or is it something else entirely? I'll be right back after this.
You can have all this world. Give me Jesus.
And welcome back. If you do find any value in this content, do me a favor, click like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell so you don't miss any of my content. And most importantly, share, 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 share. I always talk about the fact that God's word does not return void. So when we share God's word being taught or preached or discussed, it doesn't come back void. It always has an impact on the kingdom of God. So if you find any value, if there's anything interesting you find in this video or any of the shorts, do me a favor and please share them to others. Now, I'd like to also remind you that we are doing something a little bit different now. Instead of going live every morning and answering comments live as they come in, we are actually I'm doing pre-recorded, but not that much pre-recorded, but getting them pre-recorded, getting them up for you. And then on Sunday nights, we answer all the questions from the week before. So if you do have a comment, put it in the chat because I will be answering. Now, I do answer them through text anyway. So if I see a comment come up, I do answer it. But then I also am going to be collecting all of them throughout the week, and we'll be answering some of those questions or responding to some of those comments on Sunday at 7 p.m. Central. And when I say I actually mean me and my husband. You'll finally get to meet Russell Mann and be able to learn more about him a little bit maybe, but mostly because some of the questions come in from him and or questions that he feels like you guys might ask. So any comments that we've had on any of our shorts, which we do get comments on our shorts. I get comments on my shorts all the time. So any comments on the shorts or the long form videos throughout the week, I will answer them in text, but then I'm going to discuss them with my husband. Two of us will have a conversation, and we'd love to have you join in that conversation on Sunday at 7 p.m. So join us then. We would love to see you there. So 7 p.m. Central, right here on Easy Bible Study. All right, let us get into this today because we are covering Laban having chased down Jacob and Leah, or about to, and we've got a huge passage to cover. So let's get into it right away. Here we go. And it was told Laban on the third day that Jacob was fled, and he took his brethren with him and pursued after him 7 days' journey, and they overtook him in the Mount Gilead. And God came to Laban the Syrian in a dream by night and said unto him, Take heed that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad. Then Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the mount, and Laban with his brethren pitched in the mount of Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, What hast thou done, that thou hast stolen away unawares to me, and carried away my daughters as captives taken with the sword? Wherefore didst thou flee away secretly, and steal away from me, and didst not tell me that I might have sent thee away with mirth, with songs, with tabret, and with harp? And hast thou not suffered me to kiss my sons and my daughters? Thou hast now done foolishly in so doing. It is in the power of my hand to do to you hurt. But the God of your fathers spake to me yesternight, saying, Take thou heed that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad. And now, though thou wouldest needs be gone, because thou sore longest after thy father's house, yet wherefore hast thou stolen my gods? And Jacob answered and said to Laban, Because I was afraid, for I said, Peradventure thou wouldest take by force thy daughters from me. With whomsoever thou findest thy gods, let him not live. Before our brethren discern thou what is thine with me, and take it to thee. For Jacob knew not that Rachel had stolen them. Let's go forward a little bit here. And Laban went into Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the two maidservants' tents, but he found them not. Then went he out of Leah's tent, and entered into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the images, and put them in the camel's furniture, and sat upon them. And Laban searched all the tent, but found them not. And she said to her father, Let it not displease my lord, that I cannot rise up before thee, for the custom of women is upon me. And he searched, but found not the images. And Jacob was wroth, and chode with Laban. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, What is my trespass? What is my sin, that thou hast so hotly pursued after me? Whereas thou hast searched all my stuff, what hast thou found of all thy household stuff? Set it here before my brethren and thy brethren, that they may judge betwixt us both. This 20 years have I been with thee, thy ewes and thy she-goats, and have not cast their young, and the rams of thy flock have I not eaten. That which was torn of beasts I brought not unto thee, I bear the loss of it. And of my hands didst thou require it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus I was in the day the drought consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep departed from mine eyes. Thus have I been 20 years in thy house. I served thee 14 years for thy two daughters, and 6 years for thy cattle, and thou hast changed my wages 10 times. Except the God of my father, the God of Abraham, the fear of Isaac, and hath been with me. Surely thou hast sent me away now empty. God hath seen mine affliction and the labor of my hands, and rebuked thee yesternight. And Laban answered and said unto Jacob, These daughters are my daughters, and these children are my children, and these cattle are my cattle, and all that thou seest is mine. And what can I do this day unto thee, my daughters, or unto their children which they have borne? Now therefore, come thou, let us make a covenant, I and thou, and let it be for a witness between me and thee. And Jacob took a stone, and set it for a pillar. And Jacob said unto his brethren, Gather stones. And they took stones, and made a heap, and they did eat there upon the heap. And Laban called it Jegar Sahadutha, but Jacob called it Gilead. And Laban said, This heap is a witness between me and thee this day. Therefore is the name of it called Gilead. And Mizpah, for he said, The Lord watch between me and thee, when we are absent one from another. And if thou shalt afflict my daughters, or if thou shalt take other wives besides my daughters, no man is with us. See, God is witness betwixt me and thee. And Laban said to Jacob, Behold this heap, and behold this pillar, which I have cast betwixt me and thee. This heap be witness, and this pillar be witness, that I will not pass over this heap to thee, and that thou shalt not pass over this heap and this pillar unto me for harm. The God of Abraham, the God of Nahor, the God of their father, judge betwixt us. And Jacob sware by the fear of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered sacrifice upon the mount, and called his brethren to eat bread. And they did eat bread, and tarried all night in the mount. And early in the morning Laban rose up, and kissed his sons and his daughters, and blessed them. And Laban departed, and returned unto his place. All right. And this is God's word for us today. Now, why is this important? All right. So this is a huge passage, and quite a bit happens. But I think what's interesting is how it starts out. So we see that it starts out in verse 22. So actually it kind of starts in verse 21. Let's recap where it said, So he fled with all that he had, and he rose up and passed over the river and set his face toward the Mount Gilead. And Jacob stole away unawares to Laban the Syrian, that he had told him they fled. Now remember, Rachel has taken the idols from Laban's. And it says that Rachel had stolen the images from verse 19. So we know already that Rachel has stolen those images. She's already taken these idols from her father's shearing ship. And it was told Laban on the third day that Jacob was fled. So he sees his idols are gone. And in 3 days he goes, Hey, wait a second. Jacob's gone too. And everything, like 3 days after he left. And then he took his brethren with him and pursued him for 7 days. So this is now 10 days later that he's catching up to Jacob. So verses 22 and 23, 10 days after they left, Laban catches up with them. And what's interesting, we can write this in, up with them. What's interesting is that Laban didn't really set out after them until he realized it was his that his idols were gone. He's like, my idols are gone. And they go, yeah, and Jacob's gone. He's like, ah, I know. Jacob fled. He took my idols. That's who it is. He's not interested in Jacob. He's not interested in any of the kids or any of that. He's interested in his idols and he wants his idols back. So what does Laban actually cherish? Doesn't cherish his daughters or any of that. He cherishes his idols. So he catches up with him, but then, of course, God comes to him in a dream. So in verse 24, we see that God came to Laban the Syrian in a dream by night and said to him, don't speak good or bad to Jacob. God tells Laban to not be angry with Jacob. And then in verse 25, Laban catches up with him. And Laban says to him, what hast thou done that thou hast stolen away unawares to me and carried away my daughters as captains and as if they were taken with the sword? He goes, how come you've left with my daughters as if they've been kidnapped? So he tells Jacob, he's like, Jacob, why did you leave and act like a thief and kidnapper? Like, why did you steal away? And this is verse 25 and 26. And he goes, wherefore didst thou flee away secretly and steal away from me? And didst not tell me that I might have sent thee away with mirth and with songs, with tabret, with harp. He's like, I could have thrown you a party to leave. Why'd you just like poof go off like this? And he's like, and hast thou not suffered me to kiss my sons and my daughters? Thou hast now done foolishly in so doing. It is in the power of my hand to do you hurt, but the God of your father spoke to me, take thou heed that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad. So he basically says, Jacob, why did you leave and act like a thief and a kidnapper and not tell me? And not tell me. And now thou wouldest needs be gone, because thou sore longest after thy father's house. Yet wherefore hast thou stolen my gods? And he goes, and why did you steal my idols? Laban goes, why did you steal my idols? I get why you might want to leave and go back to your dad and to your people. But why'd you steal my idols? Like, my gods. You took my gods. You took my idols away. Why did you do that? So this is all the way through verse 30, 25 through 30, that we see this. Why did you do this? Laban's asking. Say, Laban asks. And then verse 31, we start to see Jacob's response. He says, I was afraid that you would take by force your daughters away from me. He's like, I thought you might take my wives away. You might force them to stay with you. He goes, with whomsoever thou findest thy gods. He goes, 'cause I thought you'd take my wives. And whoever has your idols, you can kill them. Basically, what Jacob's saying here is, I had nothing to do with that, and I'm not for it. Of course, he didn't know that it was Rachel. If he'd known it was Rachel, he might not have said that, but he didn't know. So then we see in verse 33, we see verse 33, and we see verse 33 and 34. Laban searches all the tents. And we get to verse 35 here. Rachel lies to her dad and says, I'm on my period, Dad. You can't come in. Like, come on, Dad. Don't make me get up. I'm on my period. She's sitting there, literally sitting on top. She's not on her period. She's sitting there on top of the idols. She's got them underneath her clothing. She's hidden them. And she's like, and I'm not going to get up because I'm on my period. So Rachel, she's a real winner here. Rachel lies to Laban about being on her period. That's what it means when it says in the way of women. It says, for the custom of women is upon me. So what she's saying is about being on her period. So she can't move. Right? And so he searched, but he didn't find the images because, of course, she's like sitting right on top of them. Right? And then verse 36, we see Jacob get kind of upset. And Jacob goes, look, you searched all my stuff 20 years. So Jacob goes off on Laban here. Jacob gets upset with Laban and lists all the grievances. He's like, look, grievance number 1. You searched all my stuff and you didn't find anything. He goes, I was 20 years I've been with you. And when thy ewes and thy goats, they didn't cast any young. They weren't having babies till I came along. And the rams of thy flock, have I not eaten? He goes, that which was torn of beasts, I brought not. He goes, look, if there was a lamb or somebody that was torn apart, I didn't even bring it to you. I took it on my own. I took it as if it was my own. I replaced it for you. I didn't bring you any issues at all. If my hand didst thou, he goes, and I bear the loss. He goes, my hand didst thou require it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. He goes, look, if an animal was stolen away, you made me pay for it. And I did. He's like, it's not just that you made me pay for it. I did pay for it. I did pay for it as I should have. Not that I should have, but I did. Then it was when the day of the drought consumed me and the frost by night, my sleep departed from my eyes because I was serving you. I've been 20 years in your house. I served you 14 years for your daughters to be wives. And then I gave you another 6 to earn cattle. Like, come on, Laban, you know me. You know I'm not a bad guy. He says, except the God of my father, the God of Abram, he lists all his grievances and says, if it wasn't for God, I'd have nothing. Because of all the times that Laban had cheated him, all the times that he had changed the wages. He says, you changed it? He goes, you would have sent me away empty. He goes, So then, and that's through verse 42. And Laban replies in verse 43. And Laban answered and said to Jacob, these daughters are my daughters, these children are my children, these cattle are my cattle, and all that thou seest is mine. And what can I do this day unto these my daughters, or unto their children which they have borne? Now therefore come thou, let us make a covenant. So Laban offers to make peace and a covenant. And that's in verse 43 and 44. So in verse 45, Jacob sets up a stone and a pillar. So Jacob sets up a stone on a pillar, and they eat together. Now, what is that significance? Well, there is a significance to breaking bread with people, especially in the Middle East, to seal a covenant or to seal a promise or to make a contract sure. And that's what they're doing here. And he goes, and Mizpah, for he said, he goes, but Jacob called it Gilead. And let's look up what that word, let's see what Jagar Sahadutha, which is 30:26. So let's look up 30:26 first. As we do. 30:26, 29, 27, 30:26. From a word derived from an unused root meaning to gather. All right. So it means like of a root corresponding to a heap of. So basically he's saying a heap of stones. He's gathered them up and he says, Jagar Shahadutha means a heap of stones or a gathering of stones. But Jacob called it Galid. So what is Galid then? So Jacob says, nope, it's not a gathering of stones. I'm actually going to call it something entirely different, which is 1567. Galid. He says it's a heap of testimony. He goes, this is not just a heap or a pile of stones. This is a heap of testimony. This is a monument to what it is. That's what Galid means, is a heap of testimony or a monument to this. To eat together. And Jacob says it's not just a heap of stones. It's a testimony or memorial to their covenant. And what do they promise? He says, and then the Lord watch between me and thee when we are absent one for another. If thou shalt afflict my daughters, or if thou shalt take other wives besides my daughters, no man is with us. See, God is my witness betwixt me and thee. He goes there. Laban said, this is a heap as a witness between me and thee this day. Therefore, the name of it was called Galid. Because he goes, and Laban says, this is a witness, and as long as you treat my daughters and my children, or grandchildren in this case, of course, correctly, we have no problem. And he said to him, behold this heap and behold this pillar which I have cast betwixt me and thee. This heap be a witness and this pillar be witness that I will not pass over this heap to thee, and that thou shalt not pass over this heap and this pillar unto me for harm. He basically says, neither one of us. So what's the other part of the covenant? Their covenant is, don't mistreat. What's the covenant? See, 45 to 47 for that part. And what is the covenant? The covenant is in verses 48. Don't mistreat my daughters. Don't cross the heap to harm me. He says, it doesn't say he can't cross the heap, but he says not to harm him. He says, and I'll not pass over this heap and this pillar unto me for harm. And then what is it? The God of Abraham, the God of Nahor, the God of their father, judge betwixt us. And Jacob sware by the fear of his father Isaac. So, and Jacob swears it. Jacob swears this covenant in. Okay. Then Jacob offered sacrifice upon the mount, called his brethren to eat bread, and they did eat bread and tarried all night in the mount. And early in the morning Laban rose up and kissed his sons and his daughters and blessed them. And Laban departed and returned unto his peace. So 48 to 54, they seal. Jacob swears on it. They sacrifice to seal the deal. And then verse 55, Laban goes back home. But now Jacob has a covenant. Now Jacob has a covenant with Laban, which protects him. Laban's not going to come after him anymore, and Jacob's not allowed to cross back over into Syria to harm Laban. So If he does, then he's in trouble, and that's between God. This was a covenant they promise each other before God. He says, God will judge between us. So it's a very serious covenant between them for this. This was not just some flighty kind of sort of thing. So what do we know here? Well, we know that Rachel did not do what she was supposed to do. Rachel, we find out even more about her. That's not so great. Keep in mind, this is the woman that he did it, that he actually chose. Like, Rachel's the one he chose. But she keeps causing all sorts of problems. I mean, Rachel's causing all sorts of problems for Jacob. Laban might not have been so angry if the idols hadn't gone missing. I mean, he kind of would have been angry a little, but if the idols hadn't gone missing, probably no big deal. Rachel's moany and whiny because she doesn't have children. She wants the mandrakes. She's selfish and maybe wants to get high or just kind of zone out, whatever we want to call it. So she wants the mandrakes. When she finally does get a son, she names him something that is a little bit It's like, yep, finally, it's about time, is what his name kind of means. And then there's Leah, who's just having baby after baby after baby and going at this. So, yeah. I mean, definitely this is Rachel's an issue. Now Rachel has stolen the idols, and yeah, now Rachel's stolen the idols. Laban causing more trouble, lying again. So Rachel, we got to be careful of her. And let's continue the story of Rachel and stuff. But tomorrow, we are going to talk about Jacob as he travels further home. Remember, what was the reason he left in the first place? Well, because he kind of tricked Isaac into giving him the blessing. And that made Esau pretty angry at him. And Esau's still back there. And now 20 years later, Jacob's coming back. And let's see what happens when we get back to them. So if you do have any questions or comments, put them in the chat. I would really appreciate that. And we will be going over that on Sunday in our live broadcast at 7 p.m. Central Time. So any comments you have, make sure you put them in the chat. If you did find any value in this today where you learned a little bit more, maybe didn't understand some of what happened in this passage, I think this is pretty, like as Russ would say, box standard, meaning it's not really couched in myth, but it's kind of interesting to go through it. And it's interesting to see how covenants were set up and to see how serious this was to Jacob and them. So if you do find any value in this, definitely do me a favor. Click like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell so you don't miss any of my further content. And we will see you again tomorrow when we start talking about Jacob preparing to meet Esau. All right. Bye for now.